So they've updated Facebook, and it's a nightmare. So you have to redo everything every time they decide to update Facebook.
Oh, right.
Give me 2 secs. They used to tell you how many people were watching on it and all the rest of it, and they've even taken that off it now as well.
You're better than me, mate. I don't bother with half of it.
It's also incredible today, Steve. I don't know if you've seen it, but after that Arsenal win yesterday, the Zubimendi's come out and apologised for his mistake that gave Spurs the goal.
Yeah, didn't deserve it. Tottenham didn't deserve a bloody thing. They were useless. Honestly, just going modern football. I'm telling you, it needs a little bit of looking at because I don't even think it's a spectacle anymore. If I'm honest, top level football.
No, I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy non-league stuff. I'll be honest.
No, I totally agree. Totally agree.
I mean, you look at. I don't know if you saw it happen, but in the Essex Senior League at the weekend, I mean, Romford were 3-0 down on 90 minutes and came back and drew 3-3.
They didn't, did they?
Yeah, just
Oh my God. I think it's a
just.
mate of mine that's just took over. Danny Brown.
Oh, I love Danny Brown. Danny
He's a great
Brown.
lad, isn't he?
Danny Brown is one of the nicest guys in, present company excluded, one of the nicest guys in non-league football or even in football itself.
Yeah.
He was, and I tell you what, he used to be the captain down at Harlow when I was down at Harlow.
Yeah.
And the guy was just immense. And I
Yeah.
mean, I still remember him playing against Waltham Abbey, and one of the strikers at Waltham Abbey or wingers at Waltham Abbey used to play for Harlow, and he ran towards Danny and tried to go round him, and Danny just walked up to him and he went to him, "You do that again, son," he says, "and I'll break your legs." And that's exactly what he said to him. And it was quite funny because then you literally, the next minute, he's gone through again. He's racing through towards Danny. He's poked the ball in front of him and he saw Danny coming towards him. And Stevie literally, excuse the terminology, but completely and utterly shit himself. I just gave Danny the ball,
Good
and
lad. Yeah. Intimidation, eh?
oh, he was such a lovely, lovely guy. He's one of
Yes.
those just
No, I agree.
absolutely phenomenal guy. I'll be honest, I love him to bits. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Got so much time for him. I must admit, he's something he did for my daughter. I'll tell you about it in a minute, but something he did for my daughter, I'll never forget. Do you know what I mean? It was incredible. But let me just deal with this, and did an interview during the week with a guy from Corinthian Casuals, Steve Watney, and he told his story about how they went over to Brazil because of the link between the two clubs, between Corinthians and
Yes.
Paulista, and that phenomenal story. Fantastic interview with him. And so that's for something I've got to put out at a later date. But it's a great little chat. But right, let's do this. Well, welcome to the Reposs Non-League Show, and really pleased to say that Steve Castle is with me, absolute Leighton Orient legend, a non-league legend as well. Really pleased to have him, of course, the manager at Bishop Stortford. And if you saw the sort of like the pre-show chat, we were just talking about Danny Brown, and of course he's now in interim charge down at Romford, and the story basically behind it, Steve, was. My daughters my oldest daughter, who's now 30, my youngest daughter, 26. At the time, they were, 21 and teenager or whatever else, my youngest. And my youngest absolutely adored him. Absolutely adored him. She was just like, for her, he was like David Beckham. That's the only way to describe it. And I remember it was her birthday, and I managed to get a Harlow shirt with his number and name on the back. He came off the pitch, and I just said, "Danny, any chance you could do me a favour?" I said, "My daughter's out the back." I said, "Any chance you could just say hello to her and maybe sign her shirt because she's got the shirt on. He said, yeah, of course I can. And of course, then goes out to my daughter, and literally she saw him and she's just looked at him as if it was David Beckham, just went all gooey eyed and everything else at this bloke. It was just it was
Brilliant.
really really impressive. And he stood there and he stayed there and he spoke to her for a good 10-15 minutes and just made her birthday. It was just a fantastic fantastic touch from him.
Yeah, no, he's a good lad, Dan. I had him as assistant manager at Cambridge United, and we got him up, and he changed the team a little bit. Really, just made him a lot more sterner and hard to beat. But yeah, he's a great kid, and I call him a kid because I can do because I think he was. I think he made his debut against us when I'm. I think we had a sort of what used to be the Johnson's paint or whatever it was called then, but just an EFL game against Peterborough. I was playing for Peterborough, he was playing for Leighton Orient, and they threw him in. And he done all right. He done all right. But always remember, he was sort of, quite a cocky, lad, but sort of could back it up as well, as you say,
Yeah.
and had a good career both in league football and non-league. So great and a great lad, as you say.
Yeah, and he's one of those ones that people have always say to me, if you can describe Danny, how do you describe him? I said, he's the type of bloke, a bit like the barking manager as well. I said, he's a type of bloke you wouldn't want to meet in a light alley, let alone a dark alley. I said, but he's but a really lovely guy,
Yeah,
But
very
and
true.
his stories all over. I mean, I remember him playing at Harlow against Ware, and it was a really bad day when they had grass at Ware, and it was Boxing Day match. I took my father-in-law down there, and both teams were struggling at the bottom of the table. It was 2000, must have been 2015, Chris Boxing Day, and
Mm,
it was absolutely tipping down rain. Didn't know if the game was going to be on because Ware's pitch then was really sort of like a couple of bits of rain in it to get called off, and there was flying tackles going in all over the place, and it was a real sort of 6 point at the bottom of the table clash.
mm,
Whoever got, basically you looked at it and thought, with the fixtures, whoever it was who was going to lose would probably get relegated. And people were coming off their feet, sliding. And I remember the referee going up, and I think it was 1-0 down, 2-0 down at the time, Harlow. And the referee turned around and went, guys, you've got to stay on your feet. Pulled the captain in, who Danny was one. He called them, he said, you've got to stay on your feet, lads, got to stay on your feet. Anybody, any more of these sort of iffy tackles, I'm going to have to abandon the game. The next minute, the ball's been poked forward to the forward of Where Danny's just gone for one like across the pitch, like, you know what I mean?
mm.
Skidded in it here, and the referee's just got blew the whistle and actually abandoned the game. And Arlo went back there, and about I don't know 3 or 4 weeks later, beat them and actually stayed up when Ware went down. And it was just, you can imagine the atmosphere in that ground because it was all kicking off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Afterwards, because of
yeah,
the
no, very good.
because,
Like it.
but he saved Arlo all on his own that year. I must admit, but sensational guy. But with yourself, I mean, the last time we spoke, of course, the last time we actually had a chat with you on the show, we was at Royston. So I mean, leaving Royston and then going into club just up the road really from where I am. I mean, Waltham Abbey, so not too far from where I am at Bishop Stortford. I mean, how did that all come about?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was doing fire. Obviously, I spent 11 years at Royston. Great owner, and things were going quite well. Obviously, COVID hit. We had a great season just before COVID. We were second in the table with two games in hand, and we got through to the quarterfinals of the FA Trophy. So we were onwards and upwards. COVID hit, obviously all of us,
Mhm.
and obviously affected things. My personal situation was that I had to have an ankle operation, which I thought I was going to be able to have it in March, April. Ended up I had to have it in August, and basically just uh, couldn't do what sort of a manager can do really. So yeah, I say I stepped aside. I mean, it was a case of me coming away from it. But yeah, it got to Christmas when there was a situation that I could go back in, and the chairman there, who is now Steve Jackson, decided to stay with Chris Waters, and yeah, I parted ways, which was a little bit unfortunate, but there you go. But football's football, and I had a little bit of time out. Quite enjoyed it, if I'm really truthful. Just had some time, uh, and the job came up at Bishop Stortford. They rung me and asked me to go for it, and to interview. I do know one of the lads on the board, and sort of that was a nice compliment, even just to be asked. And yeah, I had the process, and obviously it's my local club. I live in Bishop Stortford, and an absolute no-brainer. And that was 2 years ago. Uh, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's certainly not gone bad. It's been, with a young group. Basically, the club went for it in the Conference North, and obviously it didn't quite work out,
Mm.
and got stung financially. And at taking the job, I knew that it was going to be very, very tight. And in step three football, where there's quite a bit of money being splashed about. It made it difficult. We stayed up last year, and this year we're more than holding our own. And if we'd have had a little bit of good fortune with some injuries not occurring, we would have definitely, or we, in my opinion, we would have been, sort of, and be in and around the playoffs. And we're not a million miles away from it. We've got a couple of games in hand. I think everything's positive.
Yeah, I mean, win those only a point behind playoffs.
Yes, yeah, no, very true. As I say, we
Mhm.
you know we started the season amazingly well, won 5 out of 5, and then, as I say, we had two real big injuries. Our centre half, Jaden Aguanza, and then Harry Titchmarsh. One ruptured his Achilles, the other one, dislocated kneecap,
Oh,
and the dislocated kneecap happened up at Stratford, where they abandoned the game with at least 2 minutes left to play. So yeah, from 5 games out of 5, it went down to 4 games, but we ended up winning the fifth one as well. So it was 6 games that we won straight off, and it set us up. But obviously, yeah, as I say, we had to have the fallout of the injuries and whatever, and it's just derailed us slightly. But I'd like to think that we're quite a way back to what we want, really.
I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, isn't it? I suppose when you look at it and you think to yourself, even sort of Bishop Stortford being in the Southern League is a bit, a bit of a sort of an eye opener type thing because you look and think, well, why they're not you're sort of in the Isthmian League where you sort of came out of the club came out of and got promoted from, and then all of a sudden now you're back in that. But to the club to have actually have gone, I'm not. Was you in charge when you was in the national North?
No, no.
No.
Steve Smith,
Yeah,
the owner,
yeah.
was in charge. He got them up.
Mm.
So fair play to
Just strange,
Steve.
isn't it? That they, that again, they go into the north. I mean, if you look at it this year, good friends of ours, and he'll come on and talk about his game later on. But like Merthyr Town, they're stuck in the north, and and they had South Shields come to them on a Tuesday night. I mean, just crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really is crazy. And as you say, when there's a bit of a, so you look at your Oxford cities, even Bedford. Bedford got promoted out of our level, and went into the Conference North, and every other week they're doing a long journey. I mean, it's flip sides of everything, really. I look at it in another way. They've got to come down to sort of the south, with us, or Bedford or whatever like that. So, but it is a really, really tough league. No, I wasn't part of it, but I did. I interviewed early part of April, so I went and watched a couple of games. So when I watched Buxton, and a hell of a journey, strong teams that they were playing, and what I saw, there weren't an awful lot in the teams, bar a little bit of luck, and that's what happened that day. They just got done 1-0, and it was just, it was unfortunate. But I think, the but you have to, sort of match uh, what is in that league at Conference North and South. In fairness, I'm saying about step three is the money's awash there, but Conference North and South, it's I'm sure it's been spoke about on your program quite a lot, but it's ridiculous.
Mm. I mean, I know, as I say, with the guys from Merthyr, that I think they were one of the favourites, if not the favourites, to get relegated. And they're sitting in third place, like, just ridiculous. That they're doing what they're doing. Another, 2-0 down at the weekend and came back and won 6-2. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But and I think they've got a striker in now. I don't know if you've heard of Ricardo Reese. He's just smashing goals in like ridiculous amounts of goals. I think he's up to about 21 for the season already. You know what I mean? Like league
Wow.
goals already. Another hat trick at the weekend. There's supposed to be quite a lot of league clubs looking at him as well for January, and
Mm.
I think they'll be very lucky to keep hold of him by January. Even though as loyal as he's been to him, he's only 25, but he
Yeah.
could be the next Jamie Vardy, Ian Wright type character coming out. I think.
Well, good luck to him. No, I mean
Oh,
Merthyr. We played Merthyr. Oh crikey! I think it was back in when I was at Royston. I think it was the Southern Premier, not the Southern Central,
mm,
and they were struggling at the time, to be fair. But their catchment area is massive. Obviously, they've got all the Welsh teams that they can go for, and obviously, yeah, I don't know the team as such, especially as you say
yeah.
this year, but they've done a fantastic to get themselves up there and compete.
Mm. I mean, with yourself though, I mean, you had a great win against Billericay in Trophy 5-0. I mean, that must have been a great night.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I don't think much was thought that we would sort of get anything out of it. Um, but I think it was one of them. In fairness to Billericay, everything for us went right.
Mm,
And in fairness, everything for them didn't go quite so right, and you look at the footage, and without being too negative on it, they had two great chances at 0-0, and as well as I do, goals change games, and we managed to get that sort of two-goal cushion at half time, and then it's a cup tie, and they've had to open up, and we capitalised on that. But no, we've had some fantastic results this year. As I said to you, early part has been amazing. But even last week, we went to Leiston, who are a fantastic football team at our level, and we nicked something.
mm,
And I did say to our players, I thought that uh, with the people that were missing, main sort of
mm.
seasoned players, and we had a very very young bench, and I'd say it was possibly our best result of the season so far.
Mm. You must be getting fed up with these Suffolk teams, hasn't you? Leiston first, then Bury at the weekend, and then you got Needham Market as well.
That's right. Need him tomorrow. Yet again, had a good result against them at the start of the season. But they're a cracking team. And like sort of we'll take everything that we've got to keep any sort of result, because um, they've brought in sort of a lot of quality. They brought in the best out of the lads that were at Sudbury last year, and then just added. So by no means we would be taking that lightly, and like sort of hopefully with the weather being kind to us, we'll play the game tomorrow night.
Would it be strange on the 27th of December going back to Royston? Will you go in and sit in the right dugout?
Well, I've already been up there once or twice anyway. So as I say, when I came away from Royston, I went to Sudbury for a month to help Mark Abbott out, and we played Royston, straight away. So that was sort of, if you like, that was taking the, sort of the plaster off the wound, if you like. But I've been up there once before. Last year we had a similar sort of time in and around Christmas, and I think we drew 1-1. They were, sort of quite further ahead in their development than what we were, definitely. The two games that we played. Yeah, it'll be different. They're struggling this year, and like we go up there and we plan not to help them out on that one, but hopefully keep themselves up with other results other than us.
So, I mean, with it though, I mean, you pleased how it's going, or are you sort of a little bit concerned? I mean, where's your mindset at the minute with how things are going for the club?
With Stalford, I'm really
Yeah,
pleased. I'm
yeah.
really pleased. We've got, as I say, you don't. It gets quite boring, doesn't it, when we're talking budgets and we're talking about this and we're talking about that. But we've got some promising young lads. We haven't got that much experience. Having said that, Mark Haynes has arguably been our best player. He was one of the lads that stayed from Steve Smith's era, and I think consistently he's been absolutely amazing. But then, we've also had lads that, sort of have been involved in under 23s football and reserve team football and youth football. And we've given them their head, really. Fabio Vicali, we've got Brad Russell. We've got some young lads coming in. I mean, obviously, there's a few lads that I've had for a while in Calder Silva. But no, we've got a. I'd like to think we've got a good balance. We've got an unbelievable goalkeeper, but my owner will kill me for saying that because we want to keep hold of him for the whole season. In Adam Hayton. But no, we've got some promising lads. It's not as consistent as win-win-win, which it was
Mm,
at the start of the season. We're having to sort of just dig deep at times, but that even that is quite satisfying in as much that we're earning it and we're working hard for our victories.
That's just, I suppose, getting that experience a step through for some of those youngsters as well. It will help out, maybe even going into next year because they'll have that is sort of like season experience going into the new season.
Oh, definitely. As I say, there's a group of youngsters, and I won't sort of put
Mm,
too much pressure on them, sort of. But if I was looking, in the North Conference North or South or even the National, and at their ages of 22, 23, 24, and you just think, yeah, there's possibilities there that sort of that they can make an half decent career out of the game.
mm. I mean, with it, though, I mean, you've got the likes of, the December looks a bit tough, especially starting off with Harbour Town.
Arbor are very good, very strong. Yeah. If I was a betting man, which we're not allowed to, uh, they would be my favourites.
Mm,
I think last year, I know last year, and teams change, I know, but they just seem so strong in every single department. And we played them the back end of last season. And I honestly think that they possibly were one of the only teams really that wiped the floor with us. Really, it was a very convincing result. Now this year, I think we've got a little bit more. And and I'd like to think that I don't think for me at this level, it's who turns up on a Saturday and a Tuesday, and who's got the right attitude about it. And I think we've got enough to threaten them as much as they've got to threaten us.
mm. I mean, would Real Bedford be the other one that would be up there and challenging?
Yeah, you can reel them off.
Mm,
Spalding are strong. Rail Bedford, we beat them in a two-legged FA Cup tie, but very very good team.
mm,
Kettering goes without saying, what they're all about. They're not having the greatest of times, but there's no reason why they won't, sort of add to what they're doing. I mentioned Leiston, Needham. There's not too many weak teams in at this, and you know, I, it's going to be it's going to be tough to get into that sort of playoff area,
Mm,
but that would be sort of a fantastic aim for what we've got this season.
mm. Did I see a tweet? Again, I might have slept too much. I don't know. But did I see a tweet that change of pitch as well for you guys?
It's rumoured. I don't know how much. I don't know anything
Mm,
categorically that it's a definite yes, it's a definite no.
mm,
There has been rumours on it. Let's be honest. I think it's. I love grass, and I think sort of Bishop Stortford, quite renowned for having as good a surface as what we've got. But that said, if you're only using a surface every other week, it's
yeah.
just an absolute no-brainer that you do
Mm,
like what we're Bedford,
mm,
near enough, I would say, sort of a good percentage of teams are doing it, and get the place rented out every day,
mm.
and like sort of uh, that income that comes from that can support an awful lot of stuff.
Will Steve then double your budget then?
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, we've got to get it down and then get it in first. But yeah, as I say, it has been muted about it. There's nothing concrete as yet, but it would be. I think it just would make financial common sense.
With the club itself, I mean, tell us a little bit more about the club other than the first team. I mean, reserves and under 23s, and have you got those sort of, installed in the club?
It's quite strange actually because you spoke about the surface,
Mm,
um, and I think the surface will dictate
mm,
18s, 23s, 21s, women's, and that would be a real big step forward for
mm,
the football club in general. As it stands at the moment, the academy are there and they're playing on it. But at the same time, it's a grass football pitch, and it's quite a soft uh, pitch. So have to be really really careful. So the amount of games that are on it on grass will be quadrupled if we did go to 3G, yeah, or
mm.
4G.
So, I mean, underneath the first team, is it just straight down to the academy side, or is
Yeah,
there?
pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, like sort of, I mean, the club as a whole, and obviously living around here for the last 24, 25 years, um, the youth section is massive, absolutely massive,
Mm,
and it's just such a shame that we can't get that funneled into a good level. I mean, I think obviously what I do for my main job with at Oakland's College, and we want to try and get a senior team up and running. But the reason I'm saying that is just that link in from your college football going into a decent level non-league football is unrealistic unless it's about step 5, step 6.
mm,
So like there has to be an interim, and that interim would be exactly what you just said there. A 23s that were playing on a Saturday, and as I say, that would open a door if the 4G was allowed.
mm. So, some of the youngsters you've got in the team, did some of them come out of the academy?
Yeah, yeah. Couple from mine, Jaden Agwanza, Rian Field. We had Charlie Boatwright Collie at the start of the season. So yeah, we've had a few lads from my college. At the same time, we've had a few lads from the Bishop Stortford Academy as well. Um, Toby, Bailey, to name a couple. We've got Tom Lethridge, who's in at the moment at right back, and he's an academy lad. So don't no disrespect to what I do on the
Mm,
day job, but I just part that really because
mm,
yes, it has a little bit of a part to come in when they get a little bit older, but the immediate future is for the academy lads at Bishop Stortford, and they've come in and we had a Hart Senior Cup game against Kings Langley only a couple of weeks ago, and I think 6 or 7 of them were involved. So it's looking very, very healthy.
Mm. So do you get much say in the way they play at in the academy? I mean, do you have a little bit of an input to say, well, look, the first team are playing this way. We'd like to see them sort of, maybe play a little bit like that. So if you did need like a left back or a right back or something along those sort of lines, they could just sort of fit in quite comfortably.
Well, the guy that runs the academy is also my assistant manager as well. So, like that link, Dan Evans, excuse me, is the link, and obviously he plays the same way.
Mm,
He's got a massive say in how we're playing as a first team, and he translates that over to the academy
mm,
and how their top team play. So they would be very, very familiar with what's it's all about.
mm. I mean, being an ex-pro as well, do you get sort of a lot of can you actually go back some of your contacts as well and sort of pick people from sort of the Peterboroughs and Leighton Orients and some of the youngsters that they might have there to would you sort of not get first pick as such, but get
Favourable
get that
treatment.
chance?
I think the favourable treatment went years ago. But no, in fairness, there's lads I know, but both of those names, clubs that you've said, and they've helped me out immensely throughout the years. If you look at it, if you look at it away from the non-league side of it and you look at it as a pro side of it, they want to have their loan signings up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good pals of mine, Wayne Burnett, who's at Tottenham, and Kevin Nugent, who's at Millwall, and sort of a great conversations had every 3 or 4 months on what you got and everything like that. But the brutal truth is they don't want to send them to step three if they've got any sort of future in league football. They want them in the Conference North, Conference South minimum. If they can get them in the National, even better. So we do get pick sort of the small pickings.
Yeah.
Having said that, Stevenage have helped us out massively over these last 18 months. We've got a young lad coming who's here with us, who's come out of Leighton Orient, and then Harry Titchmarsh, who unfortunately dislocated his kneecap, and he was a recommendation from Peterborough. So the answer is yes. I wouldn't say I'm first pick or anything like that anywhere along the line, but they're nice lads and they do think of obviously our situation and obviously more than likely we pay for it, but yeah, no, all good.
I mean, the reason I asked that for is because, of course, I go down to see Waltham Abbey play, and they've got a Leighton Orient youngster playing down there, and he's special, or very special winger.
Good.
And I can try and pronounce his name, but it's Abdi Hassan Mohammed, and but very good lad. He's a winger down there, very very quick, very skillful young man. He's doing well. He's had a scored that trick and stuff like that as well, and always seems to do really well every time he comes on, or even when he starts. He's I think he could be somebody for the future.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one.
He's a good lad. But Steve, I don't know if you've ever met Steve,
Hi,
and
Craig.
How are you
Craig
doing,
is of
okay?
course the coach down at the Mighty Merthyr in the
Well done. Keep
Enterprise
going.
North.
Going well, yes, going well, thanks.
But I mean, I mean, Steve, with it though, I mean, what's the actual sort of goal for Bishop Stortford then this year? Is it to get into try and get into the playoffs?
Do you know what? I think really after the turmoil of having the promotion and then the relegation, the word that got said to me when I took over was consolidation.
Mm,
I don't think we're really out of that era
mm,
just yet. We've got to watch everything. I think, that process, as we said earlier, of it going to 4G,
mm,
possibly having, a more healthier budget.
mm,
I think that is going to be the catalyst of us really pushing.
mm,
We're not in the same bracket as the big guys, the top guys at our level. That said, football, just take all that financial side at it out of the equation. Football wise, I'd like to think that we could creep in,
Mm.
and I think we could surprise a few on sort of in playoffs. So I don't think it's beyond our realms of possibility. Though it would be an incredible achievement from everybody if we could get there.
Do you think the club would be a little bit fearful though? I mean, and that's going to sound a silly thing to say, getting promoted would be fearful because, just on the off chance that you got stuck in in the same league as Craig in the Enterprise North.
Yeah, but I mean, places sort of like the proof's there, the evidence is there. He started well and got himself a fantastic striker and really pushing in that level.
Mm.
So I can't talk for the board at Bishop Stortford and like it would, I think they would embrace it.
Mm.
I've got certain ideas about how you could counteract the travel and try and sort of minimise that as a hindrance, if you like. But yeah, I think any football club would take promotion. Then I think what happens after that is that right, you deal with what's going to go ahead. If you're sort of a half ambitious football club, which Stortford certainly are.
Mm. And then you could have a nice Tuesday trip all the way to South Shields.
Yeah, and then they got a nice Tuesday trip back down to us. So
Yeah,
it's
you'd have to
vice versa, I
set
should
off
say.
set off on the sun
Nerth not round the corner neither. So that's
set off on a Sunday.
yeah.
But talking about the Enterprise North, Steve, and this is for you, Craig. I'm just looking here, and I've just flicked it into the Enterprise North form table, and it says here in black and white: fifth, Ratcliffe, 11 points from six; Flying, 12 points from six; Macclesfield, 13 points from six; Darlington, 15 points for six; and some little team called Merthyr Town sit top of the table, 18 from six. That's just mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's been a nice little run we've been on, to be fair. Yeah, we had a sticky patch before that. One of those patches where you're looking where's the next points coming from.
Mm.
And then just go on a run of 6 games, 6 wins, some tricky games in there as well. And just momentum and confidence and everything goes through the roof and it just rolls on into the next one and yeah, who knows? So no, it's going well at the moment, but I keep saying to people enjoy it. However, it is still early days. Don't get too carried away just yet. It's a long way to go.
But you had me worried at the weekend, I'll be honest.
I honestly, I wasn't. Genuinely, it was a strange one because we'd lost in the cup last week, and we didn't want to lose, whoever it wasn't the end of the world, for us to be brutally honest. But we trained Tuesday, and the boys were looking so good in training Tuesday, so sharp. The ball was moving so quickly. Thursday, exactly the same. We see how sharp they were. We warmed up Saturday, and we were like, "Oh, this is incredible to watch, unbelievable." And then we were 2-0 down in 12 minutes. I think, well, I don't know what's happened there. However, it was a penalty. No problems, it's a penalty. And then a bit of a bobbly.
Oh, just lost your volume, Craig. Just if you can hear me, we've lost your audio completely, mate. Your audio's gone dead, just so you know. Your mic. Oh, we lost him for the minute. But yeah, 2-0 down, Steve, they were after 16 minutes. Crazy. Do you know what I mean? And then it was almost as if, and I'll say it again if Craig comes back, but I was sitting there at Waltham Abbey watching Waltham Abbey play, in a game that they should win, quite easily as such, realistically on paper. And of course, we know that's not always the case. And Waltham Abbey are losing as well. And I'm sitting there thinking, what's going on? And I'm sitting with a couple of guys to my right, and they're going, "Are you watching this game?" I went, Yeah, but Mouth are losing 2-0. And you're so engrossed in what was going on. I had X up on the screen. I'm thinking,
Fair play,
what's
obviously.
going on?
I know he can't, sort of make any comment and everything like that, but it tells you what momentum does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After those, good results, and I know, as you say, just missed out on the cup tie, but to bounce back and get anything out of that, that's as good as 3 points. That
Yeah.
is.
I mean, literally, I've got. I mean, he's just said his internet's just crashed. But you look at it there in Alpha and go, they score in 8 minutes, 12 minutes, and then they've got Cole Jarvis scores in 34, and then the machines. It's almost as if someone turned around to Ricardo Reis and went right now, because then all of a sudden he just 42 he scores. Ricardo Reis. Then Cole Jarvis gets 157. Ricardo Reis 82. Lewis Twamley gets one in 89, and then Ricardo Reis in 94. It's just
Wow.
crazy. Just all of a sudden now they just switched on 1084. And I saw the manager actually go on an interview afterwards, telling almost telling the people of Wales that we can go as far as you want us to go, but you've got to come through the gate to make us go where
Yeah.
you want us to go.
Fair play.
And it was a really fantastic interview. And I think Craig won't mind me saying this. I think my concern, and I'm absolutely in love with their club, and I'd probably go there every week if I was, if I lived a lot closer, But you look at it and you just think to yourself, how many people are a little bit concerned that if Ricardo goes and you've got a person, a player there that's scoring you 30, late 30s goals per season, you
Mm.
know, you know where does that leave you come January? Do you know what I mean? And who fills that hole? Because it can't be. You must have had that in your time where you've had somebody that is banging goals in left, right, and centre, and then all of a sudden he leaves to go somewhere else. And it's a big gap to fill.
Yeah, you've always got that, sort of, non-league football. Um, we can't be hypocritical about it. We're there to be progress,
Mm,
as managers, as coaches, as players, and when they're sort of succeeding like they are, and putting in such good performances, then I'm just one of them. I think it's I've been lucky enough that I've played sort of at higher level, and it's where to play.
mm,
It's as simple as that, as high a
mm,
level as you can possibly do. And for these lads that are in step 3 and step 2 in Craig's position, for them to play in the National League or even League Two or League One, that's brilliant. And go and test themselves, and goal scorers especially. I'm quite convinced that that if they're goal scorers at non-league level, I think there's a very good chance that there'll be goal scorers at league level as well. So good. I'll listen out for his, because I wasn't aware of his development, and I might actually talk to a couple of people that I do know in the league game. So
and
sorry, Craig.
yeah, I mean, and in all fairness, that's we had a good friend of mine was on the show. I think it was must have been end of last year. The Cardiff City manager in Omar. Oh, Omar Risa,
Yeah,
who was the manager
yeah.
there. And I
Oh,
said to him,
no.
I said, Omar, I said, I used to referee his little youth side with his boy, and his boys now, the same boys now playing at Watford, which makes me feel a little bit old. But it's that situation where I said to him, I said, at Cardiff, I said, do you not actually, go into the non-league game and have a look to see what's around? Do you know what I mean? And he said, yeah, they do. They go down and they have a look. But what do you think it is with players like, and let's use them as an example, in the likes of, Ian Wright and Jamie Vardy, and there's a young lad that's just gone to Swindon as well from non-league, and then there's his name's going to escape me, who came from he came from Step
Jake
Five.
Sabor, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jake.
Jake Savoy was the one who went to Swindon, and then
Yeah.
you've got the young lad that went to, and I'm going to get his name because it's going to bug me if I don't find out his name. He went from Step Five, the Essex Senior League. He went up to Wickham, and then now he's at Queens Park
Oh
Rangers.
no.
Richard Kone.
Yeah.
But why do you feel there is that, that some of these clubs, and my brother's a season ticket at one of your old clubs at Leighton Orient and stuff like that.
Mm.
It baffles me that people like Leighton Orient or teams like that are not looking and going, well, let's go and have a look, or even the extent of some of the Premier League sides. If these guys are smashing in these type of goals, and you just wonder why they don't actually physically take the chance. And he's that guy that that went in at Swindon, an
Mm.
example, because he goes there and then a few weeks later he's down on loan at Bath City. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I don't think there's any guarantees, but I think also that uh, players' pathways are just so different.
mm,
With their development in academies or non-academies, their strength, and bottom line, when the penny drops.
mm,
When does the penny drop? It's hard. It's when you're a player and you're in your mid 30s and it's the penny's dropped and you think, cool, I can actually play, but your legs can't do anything anymore.
mm,
But to a degree, that's where I'm coming from because, like sort of you've got some lads, and mentioned it at Stalford. I'm sure Craig's got it at Merthyr Tydfil that come out with just some incredible bits of quality, and then let themselves down with certain basics.
mm,
So and then as I say, if the penny hasn't dropped by 23, 24, and unfortunately it does seem to be that it could be a career in non-league, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But then there's lads that sort of I think develop, and how they develop. I think that's just an individual course and an individual journey, and obviously, as you say, I
mm,
mean, the lads that you've just spoke about, Ian Wright and Jamie Vardy. I mean, Jamie Vardy. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
mm,
I mean, he was, had he had been 3 or 4 more years younger, he'd still be playing. He's
mm.
and like sort of like what an unbelievable as well as Ian Wright as there's the list is endless really from non-league lads, but possibly not enough.
Mm. Well, I'm just looking at his stats. He's played 18 appearances this season, 21 goals, 2 assists.
Wow.
I mean, it's just an incredible amount of goals. And I know it's like 30, mid 30s the year before, 30 odd years, 30 odd, the year before that. It's just crazy that he's been, banging them in. And that Craig would
Mm.
give you, if Craig, unfortunately Craig's internet's gone down, but he would tell you how many goals he's got against the amount of appearances, and it's almost one in one. It's just
And
crazy
the,
the
and
amount
the
of goals.
thing is, what I think, as I said to you before, when talking about sort of under 21s managers at EFL level and Premier League level, but if the lad is doing it at a very good standard non-league football, I think that has to be sort of looked at very very seriously.
Mm,
And if he's doing that year in year out, I'd be amazed. And if I was in charge at Leighton Orient now, I'd definitely be looking and seeing whether, he could cut the mustard in League One and League Two.
mm. And it's crazy because there's players out there, of course, that are smashing them in. I mean, the Richard Kone story is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think it was Newham, wasn't it?
Newham, yeah, Athletic
He
Newham, yeah,
started off at Newham.
yeah,
And I know the manager, and I don't know the story, so I shouldn't really be sort of
yeah.
saying it publicly. But I think the manager was associated with him, and kept him for a while. But hey, listen, I mean, like to go, I mean, that jump is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is, and for him to sort of not only survive but flourish, is a testament to himself.
I just hope they got something in the contract. Hope he was on a contract down at Athletic Newham and they got a percentage of any transfer fees that went on as he went through.
Possibly not. Possibly not.
But would you? I mean, is that how? If you had a player, I'm not saying Bishop Stortford have got players on contract, but if you've got players on contract there, I mean, just take your own son for instance. If your own son's on a contract at Bishop Stortford, would that contract? If someone then came along and and said, say it was Leighton Orient and said, look, Steve, we're interested in your boy. Can he come down and we want to take him to Leighton Orient, etc., etc. As sort of the manager of the club, would you, if he's on a contract, would the club? be looking for a large fee for him, or you're a club as well, like most of the other people I speak to that say, look, we don't want to interfere with the progression of the young man, so of course we'll let him go for whatever, and we'll have a couple of friendlies, and then maybe put something in the contract that says, if he goes to Leighton Orient and then does well there and ends up at Arsenal for a £10 million transfer fee, that we get some of that money.
Yeah, I think the latter there that you've answered your own question, and I don't think, yes, there'll be the occasional chairman manager that will stand out and want a particular amount of money, but in general, I don't think that money is there even at your Leighton Orients or your Notts Counties or whatever like that. Sort of we're not. I think it's just sort of an add-on or a percentage if the player was to move on afterwards. I don't think there'd be many. Sort of if there was approaches. And I'm pretty certain that I could say that as our board really that a friendly, a sell-on would possibly be sort of what they would want, and they wouldn't want to hinder sort of a career in any shape or form.
Mm. Well, just to finish with, just to finish with those stats, I've just found more of those stats. So this is this is his stats since 2018-19. He was at Bristol City under 23s, 5 goals in 3 games. The following season, he only played once and scored once. Then he went to Yate Town. He scored 5 goals in 5. He then went to Merthyr in 2022-23, 19 goals in 18 games. Then 23-24, 36 goals in 23 games. Then last season in 24-25, he scored 33 in 22, and he's already scored, according to this, 21 in 18
That's
already. So
amazing.
120 goals in 82 appearances.
Wow. No, that's a great record. That's a great record for anyone. And as I say, it doesn't. I don't know whether my advice from any EFL managers are listening, but you definitely you'd have to have a look at it. You definitely would.
Mm. So I mean, out of football yourself and do what you do. What's your club outside of non-league football? Have you got a sort of a pro team that you support yourself?
Yeah, well, coming from really the family from Hackney and Edmonton, so it was only going to be one of the North London ones, wasn't it? Really, and I went for the white side of it.
Ah,
But
Steve.
after yesterday, after yesterday, I'm not going to shout that out too loudly because that was that was
Great day,
quite
wasn't
embarrassing. Well, exactly, and hey, I'm because I think I'm involved in football. I'm quite sort of like sort of non-judgmental really, but they deserve.
it?
I think they'll win the league, Arsenal, and I think they deserve to do.
I hope so. But I don't know. What the reason I brought it up for is because and I don't normally bring up sort of pro football on the show, but there was a new program that, and I'm not sure if you if you see it, it's really very very good. It was on the Sky Sports YouTube, and if you haven't seen it, I just suggest to go and have a look at it because it's really good. And it's only about I think about 17 minutes long. And basically, yesterday it was called In the Box. And what they did was they locked up 4 Arsenal fans
Yes,
and
I've
four
seen.
Spurs fans, of which the Spurs fans, one of them was Ozzy Ardiles, Gary Lineker, and Michael McIntyre, and some young lady. Uh,
Okay,
and then on the other, of course, the Arsenal side, there was a couple of YouTube people there, and one of them was the little old lady they call Angry Gran on social media, who's a
right.
massive Arsenal fan. And all they do is they were showing them clips or stills of something that happened in the game. So they were stuck in there for the full 90 minutes. And of course, they was doing clips, and you had Aussies going, I think that was a goal, or Gary going, oh, I'm not too sure about that, and etc. etc. And just showing them little clips at the end. And then, of course, got to the end of the game, and then they counted down from 5 and then put the score on the screen. But it was a really clever context because they hadn't got a clue what was going on, so they wasn't sure whether Arsenal had won, Spurs had won, and actually asked them what they thought the score was just by the clips that they'd seen come at 90 minutes. And of course, they were going, oh, I think it might be 1-0 Spurs or 1-0 Arsenal or whatever else. And then, of course, when it actually came up at 4-1, it was that, you can imagine the Arsenal fans were going, mental. Ozzy and Gary were trying to get out as quick as they could.
I bet. I bet.
But it was fun. It's worth a watch. Anybody that's got YouTube, go and have a look at that. But Steve, time's run away for us. I'm really pleasure speaking to you again. It really has because, as I said, one of the Leighton Orient legends, as my dad always tells
You're
me.
welcome.
And I know that for a fact, and such a nice person to have a chat with as well. So I really appreciate your time, and hope everything goes really, really well at Bishop Stortford this year, and hopefully you get in those playoffs.
Lovely. Thank you. And thanks for the invite.
No problem at all, and send Steve my regards as well.
Cheers. Cool.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, man.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
And that's thank you for watching tonight from me and from Steve. A massive thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. But of course, don't forget to keep a lookout. We've got, as we said earlier on, with Steve Watney, we've got him from Crimping Casuals telling us all about the story behind Brothers in Football, the TNT documentary. So make sure you watch that. That will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But from me and Steve, who's already gone, and of course, unfortunately, Craig as well, who's lost his internet service tonight, a massive thank you. And we'll see you all this time next week. Good night.